All right, we're joined by Kelvin, Professor Dr. Brian Bolt, who also doubles as the Kelvin men's golf coach. He's been a dean of education here at Kelvin University, and teaching a class coming up. It'll start on June 22. That's a week from this Monday, and it's entitled Sport and Play in a Time of Pandemic. And you've talked a lot about sport and the way it fits in our culture through some of your studies and your academic work. What are you trying to bring into this class, and what should people be interested about as they look into possibly taking this class or even auditing this class, which is also an option?
Yeah, Jeff, thanks for asking. I'm really excited about this. I've taught a lot of classes and done some research on sport and its intersections with Christianity, but I've never taught an online class. This will be a new thing for me, probably a new thing for many of the students. And this idea that it's a one-credit class and it's accessible, I think will attract different kinds of people into this conversation. All of us, if you're a lover of sport in some way or a participant in sport or even an observer, you were affected by this pandemic, and you're affected probably in ways you don't quite expect. In some ways, there was a huge loss, right? And you saw athletes writing letters to their sport, "I miss you," sort of thing. And we're going to be digging into that some, like what has been lost by this pandemic? What have we lost individually? So what draws you to sport, and what have we lost as a society in the absence of sport? The other interesting thing is what's been gained. There's been a reduction in many ways for really busy families, and they have found space for new things. And so we will dig into kind of the origins of sport and how sport kind of comes from this idea of play or playfulness. And we've seen this sort of growth of play, especially informal play, stuff that you have to generate yourself. And I think that's a really interesting phenomenon. We often hear that sport is way too important, but it's interesting that in this pandemic, it was one of the first things to go. So society as a whole said, yes, sport is important, but not important enough. And it was gone. And so I think everybody felt the loss. If you really love to follow sport, participate in sport, you may have lost something really big, like your season, your senior season or something like that. Our team lost our spring season. These are real losses. And at the same time, we have to look ahead and say, what are the benefits? Or what did we learn about sport kind of in this process? And so we're going to explore those sorts of things.
Yeah, I was just talking to you earlier about just some anecdotal things. You're the father of a son who's a football player, plays small college football. You had a daughter that played golf at Kelvin, and just like in the case of your son, wasn't able to interact with his teammates. You're kind of stuck in a spot where you can't maybe move around a lot. What were you doing as a family just to try to get out, move, play, maybe even have a sense of competition once in a while, just to get out and move your body and to do some of those gifts that God has given you?
Yeah, so it's been really interesting. My son lost his, he's the only one still involved in organized sports. So he lost his spring season, and every athlete kind of sees or laments that loss. So for him, it was try to move up the depth chart and, have an opportunity, but he didn't really lose any games because football is a fall sport. But as soon as all of my kids moved home and we were home, we're an active family. And so the loss of being able to go out and do things and just ignited new opportunities for us to kind of participate as a family. We quickly downloaded the free, Beachbody stuff and started to exercise and do different things at home where we would normally do that. So we got some movement, but you're missing sort of the playful element and you're missing the competitive element. And so yeah, we would go in the backyard with our wedges and have a number of competitions out there trying to come up with new things to do. You use different objects, you start using frying pans for batting a ping pong ball back and forth and little things like that in the house. Anything that you can get away with or that my wife would let us get away with. Those are the types of moments where we make these reconnections to our playful selves. And you figure out where competition fits in that. Some people are really drawn to competition. Other people think it kind of ruins the play experience. And so I think every family is kind of going through, and you can find this all over the internet, all over YouTube and TikTok and all these different places where people will post videos of really creative methods to do what they might call now sport, just different ways of being active and competing in individually, like a contest against yourself, or in a group of 2 or 3.
It's been kind of a grassroots situation. I know on my side, I've got a son who's in high school, another one who's in middle school. So you have a little bit of that high school sports element and a little bit of the club and the little league and travel and all that kind of thing that is not there now. So, I know in our situation, sometimes it was just basketball in the front driveway. Now that the weather has gotten better, we did get out. We played golf recently together as a family. It was really kind of therapeutic. I mean, the boys were kind of glad that they could compete, but also just glad that they could go outside and, use their bodies. There is something quite refreshing and therapeutic that seems to be integral about the human experience, isn't there?
There is, absolutely. And we do that alone, and we do that socially. And so those social bonds has been a part of it as well. For my wife and I, for a lot of years, because our kids were involved in sport, those became little communities, right? And we missed out on that opportunity to get together with people. And the other thing that we're going to kind of look at in this sport is how these sports come back. What opportunities do they have to sort of work themselves back, and which sports have the opportunity to come back and which are going to be slower. You can tell golf already, so I can go out and see competitive golf. There are youth tournaments going on, junior tournaments, adult tournaments where I can go and watch and recruit even for Calvin's golf team. But there are other sports that are much more interactive in terms of players that are going to take more time to be able to be done in what would be considered to be a safe way. But I do think we're going to have frank conversations about what makes sport. And there are certain things you can't remove. And so you'll have to decide, okay, is this worth the risk or not? And so it'll be interesting to sort of watch it on a grand scale when you're looking at the NBA and hockey and PGA Tour all coming back, various things, but also high schools, universities, summer camps. They're all trying to find ways to get themselves back. And there's really there's a desire for some live action. People want to see some things going on and they want to participate. And so I think it's a part of us. And that's part of what we're going to do. We're going to talk a little bit about how, for many of us, sport is really ingrained as a positive physical and social experience. And we'll connect that to kind of how the church, too, works through some of these issues.
Remind us how the class will be structured as far as the times and how people can follow it. We're going to put the link to the registration right in the story here so that people can find that. But how would people go about scheduling this in their day and just getting ready for the weeks that you'll be teaching it?
There may be a handful of Calvin students that sign up for this course, but in general, this course is designed more for the community. It's people that are interested in sport and play that kind of want to take a collegiate course. And you can sign up for the 1-credit course, or you can audit for half price. I think it's $400 for the course and $200 if you audit. What we're trying to do then is we anticipate people have lives, right? They have things going on. So a big part of the course will be asynchronous, which means it'll be kind of posted there for you to kind of take a look, have some videos, have some interaction, be able to write back, be able to do some community stuff, but not in the same time, so that people can kind of live their lives and work around it. We will have some synchronous part where we all kind of log on together and have some opportunity for discussion. And we'll just sort of see how many people are in the class and what their lives are, and I can make those sorts of adjustments. But we want to be able to respond to the people that are out there and have this experience be positive in either way. If teachers want to be involved, the course also allows, at least in the state of Michigan, what are called sketches, which are kind of continuing education credits. So I'm hopeful that we get a kind of a broad mix of people, because whoever we have in the class makes it much richer.
Absolutely. Well, hey, it sounds like a great class. It starts June 22, so that's not too far off, and that's why I wanted to get the word out. But sounds like a really interesting class and something that will be very relevant for, well, the summer and the times after the summer moving forward. And want to thank you for your time. And hey, if you're interested in this class, sign up.
Hey, thanks a lot, Jeff. Really excited to get going. It's about a week away and got a lot of work to do, but we're excited to kind of pull this together.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.